Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, how are you? Caribbean, everybody, Trinidad and Tobago.
We're gonna sing like Solomon sing, every day, like Solomon sing, every day, like Solomon sing.
How are you? I hope you all accepted my apology last week. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus, which brings you 5.8G Alive. And with me today, as usual.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. And I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh gosh, Jennifer, I'm still feeling bad about last week with that Tobago thing, but anyway.
Don't worry, they're busy. They didn't have time to take you on. Lots happening.
Election season, too much bacchanal in Trinidad
Lots
and
happening.
Tobago. Anyway, listen, people of the 5.8G tribe, we have been having a great time collectively over the past few weeks. I mean, Jennifer, we were spicing up. Well, not spicing up. I think we've been carrying on a very, very needed conversation about issues that really, really impact on us. I mean, we had that first discussion with Maureen Bowen where we talked about emotional well-being. That was followed up with our exciting forum. Then Jennifer Allison, what would you say about our discussion with Allison on the LGBTQIA?
The feedback, Terry-Ann, some persons were embarrassed. I think for me, though, the information, and we mentioned at that time, is information that is out there that you can go and research and read. But we don't want to, because we don't want to know. This is such a sensitive topic. And for those of us who may be Christians and may think, oh gosh, you don't even want to listen. You don't even want to know that word, those letters. You shy away from it. But I must say, everyone who took time to listen found the information.
Yeah.
It wasn't judgmental. We wasn't judging anybody.
Not at all.
It wasn't that we asked anyone to believe differently or change their belief or their values, but to understand, what it's all about. And for me, I learned a lot, Terry-Ann. I learned a lot. And the feedback I got from those who, our followers. And again, you all don't like to send in anything and putting anything in the comments, but you would call or send a WhatsApp, telling us how we felt about it. And the general consensus was that was a topic needed to be discussed, especially among our cohort, because we are the ones who needed to understand more.
Yeah, and we didn't have the language. We didn't have the language to have a
Yes,
conversation,
yes.
so it allowed us to have that.
And it really touched many persons who maybe maybe have a family situation like that.
It
and
did.
we got that feedback, and it helped. They helped with and better understanding. As I said, they may not have changed their views, but the understanding is that's what we wanted. The persons understood, all the different letters. So in conversation and in decision making, they're going to make an informed decision and have a more intellectual conversation. Let me put it that way. So yeah.
And Jennifer,
That
equally,
was a heavy topic.
yeah, not as controversial, but still touching a nerve was our emancipation program where we interviewed
Yeah.
Michael Cooper, who talked about not only this Black established entrepreneur in the manufacturing sector, but I think his discussion on faith, being an Ifa devotee, and how that mattered to him, and how the spirits, especially Ogun, the spirit of iron, led him to where he is. You know, when you speak to people like Michael, and everybody knows we have the Christian faith in the Roman Catholic tradition.
Yeah.
Yes, we have our Pope, our parish priest, our everything like that. But you know, sometimes you have to really look at nature, look at the power of the mountains, the air, the water, the river. And you know, even Jesus, when he wanted to really talk to his God, he used to go up in the mountains or go by the river and sit down.
Go up to the mountain tops. Yeah.
Go to the mountaintop. So that was also a discussion that I think caused some of us to shift a little bit. We will leave it there.
Yeah.
Shift a
And
little
the
bit.
information too with Michael, you know what? It just worked nicely into us celebrating Uli Pandi.
Exactly. You know, we had World Pan Day, and that was, I mean, I went down to Woodford Square, and the United Nations has declared our Trinidad and Tobago's national instrument a day to recognize it. And listening to those bands in a circle, and you just could not help but, yes, the spirits were there, the brilliance, the talents, you had to sit back and say, no, this is not just a thing. There is something inside of there. And you look at those orchestras playing the phenomenally beautiful music, different types of music. And you're saying, oh, there is something bigger and better and greater going on.
We reached the world stage. Yeah.
Definitely. And then we ended up, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And are you stuck? And, you know, even that, people would wonder, where are they going with all of this? What are they doing? Yes, people would wonder, where are they going with all of this? Where are they going with all of this? You know, one of the things we at Connections 50 Plus, as you know, are very, very clear about is that this third act is our time to live life on our terms. Nobody else's. And that is not a selfish statement. It's not a statement that says you're reckless and you abandon everybody and you start to get on wild. It is one that says we really need to take stock and make decisions that really are best for us and for everybody around, and at core is our happiness. Now, Jennifer, we were looking at you used the phrase today, material.
Yes. Material living conditions.
Material living conditions.
Yes.
And it resonated with us because we believe that at the end of the day, how we live, where we live, what we do as we live has a very relevant bearing on our happiness. And Jennifer, when people hear that, what do people normally think about if we start talking about material living conditions?
The economic situation.
Yeah.
Money.
What kind of house you living in? If it's big, what kind of car you driving? What kinds of stuff?
Yeah, your status in life.
socioeconomic status in life.
Yeah, it's serious. That's the first thing they go to. And you hear that, oh gosh, well, I don't know when I will be able to do that. I can't reach there. And it's always the negative, and it leads to thinking that because of that, you can't enjoy a quality of life.
Absolutely.
You know? And let me say here, because they normally around elections time, they say election time is silly season. And persons will call in, so you listen to the radio programs or you may read comments. And it seemed to me, nobody, whether don't care what party you belong to. So we are not elections finished, and that's another story now. But it's like you only hearing the negatives, a set of dissatisfied people, right? And the blame is no blame on themselves. They're not taking that
No
responsibility. You are hearing that nothing they're happy with. I have to say nothing. So they complain with the food prices too high, the roads are fixed, the health system thing, everything bad. And I must say, since I know myself as a child growing up, during the election time, it was the same. And I'm talking many years ago because I'm 70 plus. During that time is like a time everybody come out to complain. They call it silly season, but it's to complain. And you get the impression that nobody enjoying a quality of life.
The thing about
and the other thing is they seem to know that they have the answer. They can give the answer what could be done to improve your quality of life. And then elections come and go, and whoever the party in power, whatever, it starts all over again.
Yeah.
Because you still feel they fix the problem. And at no time you can say that, let me fix my own problem. Let me see if I could do something to improve my quality of life.
But,
and as you said before, the bottom line is, well, we ain't getting no more money, the salary not enough. The
thing about it, even up these scales, it happens in the public sector. People say the government. You look at the international news. You look at the US. You look at the UK. You look at France. You look at Africa. Everywhere is a rara about the government and our standard of living, the quality of life. But to make it easy, when you look at the private sector, everybody disgruntled too, my profit share ain't enough, my salary ain't enough. They making too much money and they're not giving me enough. Everybody.
So you ask yourself that question, Terrian. What would be enough for you to enjoy a quality of life? Can we really one affecting the other, or can we separate that economic aspect where we total dissatisfaction there, and that aspect where we talk what is really a quality of life for us?
Jennifer, I think one of the things that came up, which is so striking as we were preparing for this discussion, is that we keep intertwining and confusing two very separate issues. And one is your standard of living, which has to do with really your level of comfort, material goods, income, the tangibles, which are at the end of the day, bottom line, have a dollar sign, cha-ching, cha-ching around it. So that's your standard of living. And I think that is what a lot of the quarreling is about, because everybody wants more or to be compared to the next one and the comparisons. But the other factor which we mix up is that quality of life, which is a subjective thing and which really is defined by you in your space. Because sometimes we look at the most humble people living in the most simple situations, and they have their children and they're happy. They're living in one hut and they're happy. eating bread, some kind of bread and bake with just flour and water and some salt, and they're happy.
But guess what, Terry-Ann? And it's saying we, so looking at her, not convinced that they're happy, you know.
We are
Seriously, we feel no way that they could be happy because we feel, and I want to use what we refer to the 1% or it's 2% or 1%, whichever percent that has the money and can buy the steak and thing and have the boats and all the cars, etc., etc., etc. For us, when you look at that, they say, okay, that is quality of life. They're living the life. You understand? They're living the life because they are the one that has the business and cheating people out of the money and all the stories. But the factor is we believe that that percent enjoying everything and not leaving anything for others to enjoy, the other 98%. Okay? So when you do that reference you making there to someone who may not, in all appearances, living the life, but they say smiling, going along, or the children happy playing and they're talking, you say, no way that they could be happy. How do we really change our way of thinking to say, well, okay, we can live a quality life in spite of not having the things,
in spite of your standard of living,
having that economic stability, if you want to say it, financial stability, let me say it simply. You know?
I think, Jennifer, and I'm coming back to our 5.8G cohort. This experienced group of people, last week, we talked about damned if we do and damned if we don't. And we know that we are carrying in ourselves expectations and responsibilities that were probably relevant 40, 50 years ago. And we still want to, we still carrying those responsibilities and want our children, our partners, our colleagues to operate in that way. And we're not giving ourselves permission to realize the context has passed. We don't have the heavy burdens of responsibility. We can get help. We can afford help. And I don't mean afford meaning is a set of money. It may just be that you have older children now who can chip in and help. So everything is not on you. You know, I think we love to we love to, sometimes it's a little comforting to have that little complaint and that woe is me little story, you know, to probably somebody will feel sorry for us. Somebody will pay some attention to us. Somebody will give us a listening ear. And we are not realizing that this is really because you also talked about energy. You talked about the energy field that you have around you, and it will attract what you give out. But when we're looking for love in the wrong place, or a little sympathy, or a little what, but you're dragging these negative things that are not related to today, you're not going to get the right energy. And what we have to do is really say, am I talking about something that your economic position is whatever it is? Where you are now on this third act stage is the result of how economically I'm talking about, of how you've prepared. If you sacrifice all and you have beautiful children that are doing well, whatever they have chosen to do, even if it is plant scythe or mixed concrete, then be proud of that achievement. And wherever you are, be happy there. All right. But if we are constantly looking outside of ourselves at the person you went to school with 40 years ago, the person you worked alongside 30 years ago, and who got the promotion ahead of you, but your lives are very different. If we keep using things that are outside of us to determine if we're doing well enough, then the only measure that we can look at objectively is something that is money, whether as the value of your house, value of your car, how you see people dressing, how they're not dressing. But we just not paying attention to that other measure, quality of life, which has to do with your happiness, your peace of mind, your comfort with where you are, your space, your ability to be free to make the decisions you want to make for yourself and not be burdened by all kinds of things. I think, Jennifer, if we check ourselves to see who is your influencer, nowadays is the influencers on social media, and we take stock of what are we really measuring, I think a lot of us will immediately have a great improvement in our quality of life.
I agree, but I'm seeing the difficulty there, Terian, is we don't know to do that. We reach, and remember, we are talking about us at our age, right? 5.8 G. Right through our lives in the workplace, and I mean, this topic we have spoken about in different ways, that we always know to measure. We measuring, you have to measure. You'll hear some, and we hear these stories all the time too, that I grew up poor, I grew up X, Y, and Z, and I made it to this. I made it. For me to know I made it is because I am comparing myself with someone who grew up in the same area with me, who just as poor, and they didn't do as well.
As measured by
the measurement,
clothes.
Guess what the measurement is? We're going back to the measurement is a social standard. The measurement is I was able to buy a house, they did my trend, You would not hear anything about, oh gosh, we grew up together and look how they're so happy, and I still hear complaining. You wouldn't hear that at all, Terry. The measurement always about the status. Who do better than that? Who try and study better? Who car different? Like actually, recently there I find every time I turn around, I see a PE car, and I'm saying, but everybody buy a new car. Where these people getting money from? I'm driving around in my area, and in every garage, like have a PEE.
Jennifer, not only PEE. All right, I gave myself a very nice retirement gift. I work for it, but it's plenty high-end SUV.
Right. So I am saying here, I am watching it, and I'm watching it and saying, boy, and listen to me carefully. And it's not with jealousy or anything, it's a realization. Remember, I'm started by saying, Terry, during this season, everybody complaining about everything. They don't have enough money, they don't have the thing. When I look at, and I'm not judging, the persons who are driving these cars, fairly young to me, well, I guess to me, everybody must be young. But as I said, it's more, but to me, every car now high end because you can't no car cheap. As long as even if you get a roll on, roll off, it have to be under 5 years or something. Don't care what it costs.
Nobody buying basic sedan. Yeah, right?
And I am saying and looking at that and saying it's still a status symbol, Terry. That is still what you're going for. You start to work, you're looking at that. You retire, you're looking. The first thing when you retire, still, you're changing your car. You want a new car to start your retirement with.
You better not have a new loan to deal with that car.
Right. No, but then you work there, they use up your lump sum and whatever. But what I'm saying, Terry-Ann, is to us, even then, when you're starting on our stage, what we see as quality of life is that same status symbol. We want to start the stage, say, you retire now, we're buying a new car because you're not going into this phase with an old car. You look at the house and say, hey, I changing the furniture and I doing all that. You ain't thinking quality. Somewhere along the line, it is about hey, you're setting up yourself.
Monetary value.
Right. This is what we know, this is what we do, and this is what we equate quality of life with. Now, when you do all that and you reach on the stage with a nice car and the house looking good, and you make a big trip, and when you make the trip, you know, you tell yourself you're shopping, you're really shopping. And I know these situations, right? You shop and you bring back everything because you don't know when next you're gonna buy it because your salary going down. So you use up most of your funds in looking good, your house, everything looking good. And then when you move along now within, and we spoke about that. Give yourself 3 years and you have fun and you enjoy yourself and you say this is the life. And by the 4th year, you realize, hey, with inflation, with all the different demands, family demands, etc., you say, I ain't living a quality life. I'm watching us sitting down on this nice couch, pulling the nice double door fridge, you're doing all that. But what happening here? I'm complaining again because my pension is tied into no cost of living, inflation, this, and you start back complaining. So I would really like us on this stage to separate, Terrian, the economic aspect and the quality of life. And I'm not telling you don't buy a new car and all that if you have the money. I would buy the PEE right now if I had the money. But it's not an issue for me because that's not affecting me going anywhere. And it's not an issue because I realize that is not what I need to enjoy my life. And I think I have reached that stage. And we really need to look within and say, what do we want? What type of life I want? Remove what other people doing. Remove what the neighbor did when she retired. Remember, we're talking our age. Remove what the children doing now because we get vexed for that. We cannot do these things and you're seeing them doing it. And they're not giving you money, and you feel instead of doing that, they could give you a little money so you could enjoy your life better because you work hard for them. You know? So we need to really look, and I can talk that, Terrian, because recognizing that's what you're talking about, recognizing that, and I like that looking at that economic situation, and we now at our stage, yes, some of us have businesses, some of us still in the workplace, etc. But we should still look at that and separate it now.
Yeah. Jennifer, I think one of the easiest ways for us to do it, because we get so accustomed using socioeconomic status and quality of life interchangeably. And one is the other and one is the other. And it is not that we don't know how to separate it, but it's easy to put a value, a dollar sign on something. And I would suggest that when we finish tally up the socio, all right, so you're okay with the car, you're okay with the house and the curtains and the groceries and the trip and all that. You spend all the money and you spend
the 3 years up.
The honeymoon period up. Okay. When we come back to quality of life, I think this thing that we need to measure are our relationships. I think at the end of the day, if you want to settle yourself, because very often all these motor car and all these things are after the 3 years. And remember, let's to remind people, we said retirement is not something that happens when you turn 60 or 50 and you leave the job. You go through a 3-year period where you're kind of dizzy.
And you make all the changes.
You're making the changes. You see, after that 3 years is done and you're now facing the next 30 plus years till you're 90 or 95. So whether let's call it from 65 on.
Yeah.
That's retirement. What gives you joy? What defines your life. You're not going to find those dollar signs as important, because by now you realize the motor car expensive to maintain. You cannot travel every year and go on a trip or a cruise, or even when you go, the exchange rate tells you can't shop as you used to shop. When you go in the grocery, the other day I went in the grocery, I wanted to make a pillow. And Jennifer, I swear to God, I used to work in retail. I'm looking at a kind of pigeon piece and wondering, when did this become $11.99? I know it as a $6.99 item. I am the shopper every month. So the reality of the grocery, the maintenance of the car, gas, the cost, if you take every day you drive up and down, the cost of just putting gas in this car is something else. If your roof spring a leak, the something happened with a sink, it's a lot of money. And you could easily become very, very frustrated. But I think we need to have some other measure. And what I would say is, we need to draw a line, put money on one side and put relationships on the other. You know, T accounts, it's in the balance sheet. Put money on one side. So deal with all your money issues. Put them down. Enjoy yourself. Whatever you need to have and you can have, go ahead and have it and have a bowl. But for balance, to make sure that with the socioeconomic status that you've been able to achieve for yourself, wherever it is, I am not going to judge whether a 5,000 socioeconomic status is better or worse than a 5,000 or 50,000 socioeconomic status. But the other side of the equation are your relationships. And I think we need to put as much attention in those relationships. And, you know, there's a psychologists are saying that at our age, our stage, I'm not anti-family, I'm not any of that. But at our stage, our friendships have a much, much greater value. Again, your partner, your children, your parents, if they're still with you, your siblings, your cousins are all important. But who are your friends? It's great if those friends are found in that group. But do you have friends? And I mean friends that you can laugh your belly full where you're hurting your belly and your book, or you can go to cry or to talk. I think those two measures can help us to get perspective. So I say, go measure the money. But on the other side, what is the status of your relationships to see if your life is really balanced?
And that's where Terry-Ann comes, and you read it a lot, as you said, what at this age, what helps in terms of your mental health, your well-being, and you're not putting a dollar sign to it.
You can't.
And
that
social interaction. And they give so many different examples of people reach a stage in life, and on the economic side, they're still good. They're okay. But there comes a time at our stage where you don't need to travel. You don't want to travel anymore. You can't make with waiting at the airport and doing all that. It's not about the money now. It's about how you feeling. So a lot of things that you needed then, and the money, it was worth it, and you really enjoy a quality of life as a result of having that economic stability. But you recognize, even when you look back, that quality of life, what was missing? Too many things were hinged, too many of your decisions was hinged on your financial status. So now you reach there and you would hear and the psychologists and all of them doing research coming up to tell you now, hey, you know, you're better if you had a good friendship, if you had a good friend, if you had built a relationship, a family circle, and all these things. And that, if you have been building that, it didn't cost you any money. You know, this weekend, I had a great weekend. I was able to hang with two friends that we are friends for over 50 years, right? And we were able to sit and laugh and then one was going through a little grieving process, not a little, a big one. But just being there, it didn't cost. The cost, yes, would be we decided where we want to go to sit and eat. But don't care where we went. We could have just gone and sit down free by the beach or anywhere else, you know, for that matter, and enjoy each other's company. I came home, I felt good. We all felt good about being together. To me, if you can do that on a continuous basis, and this is what the psychologists say, you could go read it up, it increases your life, your quality of life increase. Whereas at this stage, don't care how much you have, don't care how beautiful your home is, and I know I'm not saying you shouldn't have a beautiful home or anything. What we are saying is this: if you don't pay attention to that other side of you, then you can find yourself extremely miserable, not
Damned if you
happy.
do and damned if you don't.
Yeah. So for this conversation is about looking at removing the dollars, removing the dollar sign, and looking at the things that make you happy. And yes, you'll say everything costs. But when I say the dollar sign, is not spending 100,000 to renovate or 200,000 to change your car and all this. I'm not, it is that you still have to maybe put out something depending on how you want to enjoy that life. But it's nothing, it's no big dollar sign. You ain't using up all your pension to do that, or all your income or whatever you're getting to do that. So I believe, and I'm Terry, and I can attest about that at this stage in my life. There was a time, yes, oh gosh, I need the status again. You figure you work hard. I want to come in, and when I come in and I look around at my house, I say, yes, I like how it's looking. I drive in the car and I say, yes, you know, anybody watch me, wow, she has a beautiful car. Hey, at this stage, on this stage, you use 65 there, Leon, I think that's a good age to use. Somewhere beyond that, you feel like, okay, thanks. I've done that. I don't need to do that again. What I need now is to focus on that, as you say, social interaction, that meeting people, your friends, family, whoever nearby you, to laugh, to enjoy yourself, to increase your age, extend your life, your lifespan in a good way. And that for me, Terrian, is living a quality life. I go out, as I said, and simple thing, I went to celebrate a parish priest. They had their feast. I loved it. I enjoyed the service. I went with two other friends. You will swear I went on a holiday and come back. Beautiful, beautiful day. You know, that made me happy. I came, I didn't even want to, I went, took a bath and I went in my bed and said, yes, I'm feeling good. Tired from having fun.
No, I think it is important that it is, some people may look at it as an either or, one or the other, but I think
you could,
it can be both ways. It can't be just one, because you can sit down and have the best friends, but if you have no food and you have a friend,
you need to do that. Look at the balance.
And I really do think that however you choose the standard of living, that's the socioeconomic side. based on the resources available to you. And if you have abundance, you live abundantly. Socioeconomic meaning. If you have little, you have your food, a little bit of food, you have clothes, you have a roof over your head, you're good. But the other side of that balance sheet is what I think a lot of us miss. So to me, whether you're on $1 million a week budget, disposable income, or you're on a $100 a week budget, disposable income, if you do not have nurturing and caring relationships in your life to share whatever that income level can deliver, you're into misery. You're into all kinds of stresses. You will sit down and have the most beautiful house, the most beautiful car, but you're all there by your lonely self rambling around. Or if you're in that house and you don't have good relationships with your family and friends, you're living in a war zone with strife and quarrel and selfish. And we talked about it, envy, jealousy. Every decision you make has some kind of plot, some plotting to do for this one and do for that one. Or you're supposed to go and do X, but you remember this one do that 10 years ago, so you're not doing it. You're not going there. Or you could prepare this nice garden or whatever it is, but you're not doing it because this worthless one will come and sit down in your garden, so you're not doing it. So it is so important for us and I think that, Jennifer, was the essence, the distillation of what we have been talking about for the past few weeks. We've really been laying the groundwork about those issues that would get in the way of us having good relationships. When we talked to Maureen Bowen about emotional well-being and had that forum, it is about how we relate, forgiveness, grieving. Grieving doesn't only occur because somebody died. It could be that some part of your life died. Job. It's a grieving process. And it all deals with people. That whole LGBTQ stuff, there are families that are fractured. Parents can't embrace children, children can't embrace parents, siblings, friends, co-workers, people getting thrown out of jobs, human relationships being totally destroyed because I don't understand some letters and some words, and I am losing friends. I am turning my back on a sister or a brother because what? They loving differently to me. And then when a lot of us let religion tie us up in such insane ways where our life is a competition in the church or whatever it is. And we keep forgetting there is another side. What are the relationships are we nurturing any relationship at all? Because Jennifer, when we don't, that's when we definitely damned if we do and we don't and we stop.
You know, Terry Ann, come to mind again is there's a saying, and I use this saying. I grew up with my father always have these sayings that sometimes you have to recognize that we can't have it all. We can't have it all, but it's saying that we can't have it all. You have to decide, what do we want then? If we have a choice, knowing that we can't have it all and you want a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I understand and I totally agree. And I hope the message coming across here that you see the economic part, if you could, as you say, live that luxury, you could afford it without stressing. I'm not talking about if
But
some people don't have it and you face it, this is what you have. I know right now, this is my economic situation. I'm not fooling myself.
You live with it.
This is my economic situation. I'm not going back when I had, who had, and nobody leaving anything for me at this stage. All right? So, but thank God I still have, because in the early 3 years, you still figure, well, you might have changed your car and do this and all that. You don't have to worry about that again. But that balance, so if I can't have it all, and I say what I want, okay, I have this, I could survive on this. I could buy food and thing, it's expensive, but I have to
You
I
can
have to know
live.
how to cut
You
and
can live.
try
You
it in
have the
terms of a budget.
resources to live. Mhm.
But for me, at this stage, what is really important is living the quality of life, because I can't afford to get ill right now. Not I can't afford, I don't want to. I would prefer to have that choice to live that for me is part of my quality of life. Living healthy for me is part of my quality of life. And why I need to be healthy is because I want to stay active, because I want to go out and socialize. That is so critical for me. That social interaction that they talk about, that psychologists now find out that it's good for us at this age. To me, that's always number one for me.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know? So these are it may be number one for me. I'm not saying it's number one for you, Terrian. But if we find what is number one for us, what would keep us in terms of enjoying that life, and we could work that balance, knowing that it ain't perfect. I look at it, we can't be perfect. We are not perfect people. Life is a journey that we on, and we decide this is the journey I want to be on. I think we could make it. I think we could make it.
You can definitely make it. For me,
And not get caught up in all
yeah.
the real hype
Mm.
that is happening now.
For me, what I can afford, I can afford. But for me, if I have all these things, but there is no one to share it with, and I cannot laugh by myself. I love to laugh. I love to talk. I can't do those things by myself. So if I have no one, I could have the nicest car, the nicest house, the nicest everything. If I am blessed and I'm able to have those things, but I don't have relationships that I can share those things with, then I cannot say that I am living my best life. I can't. And I think for most people, you've got to have the two. You could always want more. Even the billionaires of billionaires, Bill Gates still looking to see what happened to his stock price. Elon Musk, the most wealthy people in the world are still trying to top up their wealth. So there is no level of socioeconomic good fortune that is enough. So at the end of the day, wherever you are is where you are. You'll get your food, clothes, and shelter. But those things they do nothing for your spirit. They do nothing for your well-being. And where the well-being comes in is in relationships, no matter what. Because, and I don't think we give enough when we checking out who our influencers are and who's standard, who is our standard, what we measuring ourselves against. You know, car, house, clothes, where you went on your last vacation, whether it was by your cousin down south or you went on a trip abroad. The person could have gone on a trip abroad, flown to 5 countries, and just have been, there are many people who do that and they're just amongst a whole group of strangers. Whereas if I went by my cousin in South and had a ball laughing every single day because we couldn't leave the house, we had no money to go anywhere. Who comes back from vacation happier? So I think we really do need to pay attention, more attention to our relationships and how we are nurturing them, because those two rivers run side by side to make us generally happy people. Doesn't matter how, and I'm not saying, just like it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's not quantity of relationship, it's quality. If you have
It's
one
quality.
good friend, and that is it, you are happier than someone who has 5,000 friends on Facebook, but is alone and has no one that they could connect with to share, go for a drive in the fancy car and invite over to the fancy house to eat the fancy food.
You know, but when you do that, Terian, because these times we are aware of a lot of other things happening, and these times we suffer with a lot, and I say we, all of us, the anxiety, the fear, because we worried about the crime, the home invasion, the this, the that, the other. And before we say, people say, I'm not going anywhere now, I stay home. And in staying home, that means nobody gonna hold you up. You're not gonna be spending money and you feel you better off. But if that's not what you want to do, that's not how you want to enjoy your life. That, Terian, to me is a recipe to just go into depression.
Jennifer, the Surgeon General in
So-
the US has declared that worse than the COVID epidemic and more threatening to life and longevity across the board, from children to the aged, is the epidemic of loneliness that is now gripping the US. They could measure COVID statistics and all that, but when you deal with suicide by loneliness, when you deal with depression by loneliness, when you add all those things up, and these lonely people are sitting down by themselves in some pretty nice dips, you know.
And you know, it really messes up your quality of life. And I would think someone like me who loves to socialize, and when I say socialize, as I said, three of us, we went to service and celebrate, and that was good for me. It was during the day, we took the ride and it came back, and it was nice. You can manage in terms of deciding where you want to go, your timing, to make yourself more comfortable, you know? So it may be just to your within your community, when they have something within the community and you go with some friends, you know, it's in a date, maybe during the morning or something, but you still do something, right? So you can manage how you manage your quality of life in the way you want to, because I may say, this is how I want to do it. You may want to do it a different way. What we have to be careful with is don't fool ourselves by saying, you see me, I just happy as I am, and I prefer, don't call me to do anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I stayed in my house. I fixed my house nice. I'm happy within my house. Nothing wrong to be being happy at your home. But then invite persons to come visit you. Have something home in your house if you don't want to go out. Hopefully your friends would want to come out of their house and come by you and hang. And this is more, and when I talk, I have to be mindful. I'm speaking more like wearing the hat of a woman, because I must say, my male friends, somewhere along the line, they going out, and our age group, they're going out, but guess what? Very rare they going alone. They always passing to pick up their partner to go or
with their one
meeting them
shirt,
at a
with their
certain
one
spot.
shirt, one pants, and one shoe.
Yeah. They will meet, gather at a certain spot. They are aware of what is happening now, and they're very well aware. But still, they may not stay out as late as before, or they may travel more together. It might be all of them in one car against meeting up at a certain place, but they're getting out there. And I am seeing, and this is my experience, seeing there's a difference how the men reacting to the situation now to women. And I've no way I'm talking about you could go out in the night, like how they're going out to go into a club. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about we can still go out, doing the things we like, and being very conscious of the safety
I think that
as
women,
against hiding behind the four walls.
I think some women just sitting down there waiting for somebody, probably a man, to call them and carry them out. And they put in safety and crime as a big excuse.
Well, I
Do
would
it
say,
for
Kellyanne, they
yourself.
could pick up the phone and call, they can do that.
Jennifer, could do. If it is not being done, do it for yourself. I think too many of us are being very passive about our own happiness and our quality of life.
Yeah,
And
but
we
at a
not
certain age, it's
taking
not
it.
happening because it's not within us to do that. So face
Then,
reality.
then at the end of the day, if it is not,
We're not as young as we used to be.
then we probably in a damned if we do, damned if we don't situation. And I'm not saying jump up and go and turn cartwheel somewhere, but you do have a responsibility to nurture and maintain your relationships. And if you are sitting waiting for somebody to call you to invite you out, be it a man, woman, or whoever it is, if you're sitting and waiting and vexed because the grandchildren not coming to see me, or my children not bringing the grandchildren, or they're busy and everybody busy, and we are not taking up the phone and calling the one friend that's still alive that we could even have a conversation on the phone if we can't go out, or plan for 3 weeks from now, we could spare some time. It is about being proactive with our own happiness. And I think it is under the area of relationships that we just drop in the ball, because it's where we have to be vulnerable. We could put up all kind of images, Jennifer, to make it look like we're doing good socioeconomically. We could make it look good easy. You just have to arrange the right sale, and you change the curtain, and you put a coat of paint, and you could front and look real good. But there is no faking relationships. So after you make the place look pretty, and people think you have money and you're doing good, you're sitting down inside miserable because your relationship side of the equation is a mess, because you are afraid to reach out to somebody. I think that is where we have a total breakdown of the quality of life.
Well, let me, in terms of our timing, I must say this, and I saw that on the top of the list for us, and I'm repeating this, is leisure and social interaction.
Yep.
And that together, and that's what they said. I didn't make this up. I read it in terms of one of the research that they say this is what will help us at this stage in life. Okay? Yep. For those younger ones, the early 50s, who could still, whatever, they are still in the workplace and they're doing a lot, much more active, great. But still for them,
yep,
you need to take time out. So for me, my thing is, yes, we know about the situation with the money, we understand the whole political scene, we may not be happy with the election results, all these things, but these are things not in our control.
Doesn't matter.
That is there. That is how the whole, our system, we live in a country, this is the system all over the world. All right? But for us now, thinking of us and how we could remain, in terms of our well-being, and as they say now, our mental health, leisure, and social interaction. And I must say, and I'm putting, let me say, blowing our own trumpet. And because this is what we do, and we're very well aware of what has to be done, I mean, we do all the other things because we have as our buckets, as Terry and always say, we deal with the financial aspect, we deal all the different, the health, all that, the different factors. Yes, we cover that. But recently, since after the pandemic, and being aware of being, of having friends and building that friendship circle, that leisure and social interaction, we have that under our community, where we are making it easy for you to socialize with us. And I must admit and thank all those who support us. That has been growing a lot.
But
since
Jen,
we started.
before we run
So
out
I
of
must
time,
say, you're agreeing with us. Not with us, you're agreeing with the psychologists.
yeah. But before
And
we run
checking
out,
that out.
before we run out of time, and we have to end very soon because we just have a few minutes left. As we go on, so we've talked about all the details, but as we go
Yeah.
on, we just want you to put this date down in your calendar, 22nd of September. Because if it's one thing you know, we are going to help you get opportunities for social interaction. So we hope you had a great time today and you're ready to act because we have to take responsibility. There's opportunity out there. So let's build on the the socioeconomic side done. Where you are, okay? Nobody wants anything and we have nothing to take from anybody. But working on the relationship side, so, hey, this is why you have to book the 22nd of September. More details will come in future shows. So, see you.
And we love Terry and the feedback. Please, we love for you all to give us the feedback on, on the discussion and add to it.
Good.
So that's
We'll
it.
talk more next week. Okay. Bye-bye.
Plus Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.